Hello and welcome back to Season 3 of English Sound Building, the advanced pronunciation podcast where you do the work to build muscle memory, and master new sounds. As always, I would like to remind you that successful communication is possible in any one of the thousands of global English accents, and there is no ideal. But pronunciation helps listening as well as speaking. It's fascinating and it's fun, and that's why we're here. If you'd find it useful to read as you listen, remember that you can find a script for this podcast on my Patreon page. That's www.patreon.com/EnglishBrickByBrick. You'll find the link in the episode notes. Everything is free on there, just scroll down on the main page. I am a one-person team writing, recording and editing these podcasts in my free time though. So if you do like what I do and you are able to support me, please do. And thank you so much to those of you who already are. So this week we're looking at another voiceless and voiced consonant sound pair, k and g. And as with the other voiceless and voiced pairs we've looked at, you'll find this contrast trickiest if you don't have both of these sounds in your first language, or if they're not made in exactly the same way in your language. Even if you do feel that you have both of these sounds, it's worth paying attention today to whether or not you make them in a slightly different way in English, whether you voice them in a slightly different way in English, or whether there are any sound combinations in English which don't exist in your language. So let's firstly talk about making the sounds. We're going to be really precise here, just to pay attention to whether there are differences if you do have these sounds in your language or another language that you speak. So both sounds are made in the same place, and they're made by touching the tongue to the palate at the top of the mouth, the soft palate at the top of the mouth, and then releasing. Exactly where you may do this, though, seems to differ slightly from speaker to speaker, depending on the anatomy of the top of your mouth. So the sounds are described as velar, which means that you should be touching the back of your tongue to the soft palate, so the soft bit at the back of the roof of your mouth. But I find that for me, I don't go too far back, and that the middle of my tongue also usually contacts the back of the hard palate as well. Listen to the difference in my mouth between making the sounds further back on the soft palate and then in that place which for me feels best, kind of in the middle of the hard and soft palate. And play with your own. See where feels best for you and consider whether, if these sounds do exist in your own language, your tongue position may shift slightly against the back of your mouth there. I will do this for the g sound, for which I'm vibrating my vocal cords, and not for the voiceless sound, just because you'll hear it slightly better over the mic, but I'd encourage you to do it for both. So starting with a g, very much in my soft palate with the very back of my tongue, g, 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 and then moving it forwards, g, 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 and then doing it in the position which feels best to me, where, as I said, the middle of the back of my tongue and my hard palate also make contact as well, g, g, g. Now, I definitely don't suggest that you should copy me here. As I said, it's all about the anatomy of the roof of your mouth. You don't want the sound to come out sounding too far forward. If I move it any further in my mouth, g, 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 again, you can hear how the sound changes again. At advanced levels, it's also interesting to learn about one other thing, which is aspiration. So if we think about the words got and cot, and if we say those words, put your hand close to your lips as you say them. And you should feel a puff of air on your hand as you say the k in cot. But you should not feel that puff of air for the g in got. So got, cot, got, cot. This is a pretty complicated area of pronunciation, but basically is all to do with the time, and we're talking milliseconds here in between making the voiceless consonant sound and turning on the vocal cords for the vowel sound. So in English, in cot, there is a small gap between finishing that consonant sound and turning on the voice for the vowel. We find this in English at the beginnings of words, in stressed syllables at the beginning of stressed syllables, and it's probably most noticeable before a vowel sound. And it's true for all of the three voiceless stop syllables, k, t, and p. This time, to see the contrast between that stressed and unstressed syllable, try the difference between company, where you should feel the puff of air, and welcome, where you probably won't because it's not in front of that a stressed syllable. Company, welcome. Company, welcome. You may also notice a slight difference between the sounds in terms of voicing, and in certain combinations, what you may think of as a voiceless sound may actually be indistinguishable from a voiced sound just because our voice is turned on in that position in the word. If you feel that you're not getting that puff of air between the sounds, it can be helpful to think of throwing a h sound in there, company, company, and then speeding that up until you eventually get a glide between the two, company, company, company. It's a small thing, and don't worry if it doesn't come naturally to you, but turning on your vocal cords earlier, which would be natural in many languages, can give the effect of a voiced consonant. So for some speakers, company may sound more like gumpany if they weren't producing that aspiration there. I find it really fascinating that this is something that many learners pick up subconsciously. So my mind was blown when I realized that I've been successfully producing unaspirated consonants in French and Spanish for years, which would be the norm in those languages. It doesn't come naturally to everybody, though, as I said. It's not something which is going to make a huge difference to your ability to communicate, but it is something which I think is really interesting and fun to play with. Okay, let's practice by looking at some common words with the voiceless k sound. And we'll start with those where the k is at the beginning of words or the beginning of a stressed syllable. So you can think about that aspiration if you want to. Listen and repeat. Because, cafe, cake, carry, cat, cook, correct, customer, mechanic, vacation. Well done. We'll now look at a couple of sentences with a mixture of those words. I'll read the sentence once, slowly, a second time at a more natural pace. I'll pause for you to repeat, and then I'll read again at that more natural pace for you to repeat again. Sentence number 1. The mechanics on vacation. The mechanics on vacation. The mechanics on vacation. Sentence 2. Can you carry the cake to the cafe? Can you carry the cake to the cafe? Can you carry the cake to the cafe? Well done. And now some common words with the voiced g sound. Here you have them in different positions in words. Listen and repeat. August. Begin. Dog. Game. Garden. Give. Good. Green. Guitar. Negative. Well done. And one sentence with those words. Again, reading the first time slowly, and then the second and third time at that more natural pace, pausing for you to repeat. The dog began a good game in the garden. The dog began a good game in the garden. The dog began a good game in the garden. Well done. We will now move on to some minimal pairs. This time we'll look at k and g at different positions in the words. We'll start with k and g at the beginning of the word. And as usual, we get into some higher level vocabulary here. So dictionaries and podcast script at the ready if you need them. There are so many to choose from this week. I'll put some more in the transcript. For the first 5, we will read both forms. Listen and repeat. Came, game. Cap, gap. Card, guard. Cave, gave. Class, glass. Okay, for the next 5, I will read the k word. Can you repeat and add the g word? We'll do the first one together as an example. Coat. So you should have said coat, goat, or if you also read goat, coat, also fine. Let's continue with the next 4. Cold. Coast. Cot. Could. Now listen to both forms, repeat and see how you did. Coat, goat. Cold, gold. Coast, ghost. Cot, got. Could, good. And for the final 5, I will read the g word. Can you repeat and add the k word? Again, we'll do the first one together as an example. Grab. So you should have said grab, crab. Or if you did it the other way round, crab, grab, also fine. Let's do the next 4. Graze. Grime. Girly. Gut. Now listen to both forms, repeat and see how you did. Grab, crab. Graze, craze. Grime, crime. Girly, curly. Gut, cut. Well done. We're going to do a couple of sentences with some of those words. Again, I'll read the first time slowly, the second and third times more quickly, pausing for you to repeat in between. The first one's quite short. The second one is a little longer. The guards came to the card game. The guards came to the card game. The guards came to the card game. And sentence 2, the crab grabbed the cold gold from the ghost on the coast. The crab grabbed the cold gold from the ghost on the coast. The crab grabbed the cold gold from the ghost on the coast. Excellent. Now let's move on to some minimal pairs with k and g at the ends of words. As we've seen before with voiceless and voiced pairs, you'll notice that the vowel sound is longer before the voiced sound. Try to ensure that you are holding it that extra beat too. Also, you'll notice some devoicing of the final voiced consonant sound as I turn my vocal cords off at the end of the word, but do make sure that you are not devoicing that final sound completely. For the first 5, we'll say both words. Listen and repeat. Back, bag. Block, blog. Dock, dog. Duck, dug. Flock, flog. For the next 5, I will read the k word. Can you also read the g word? We'll do the first one together as an example. Frock. So you should have said frock, frog. Or if you did it the other way round, frog, frock. Also fine. Let's do the next 4. Hack. Knack. Leak. Muck. Now listen to both, repeat and check how you did. Frock, frog. Hack, hag. Knack, nag. Leak, league. Muck, mug. And finally, for the last group, I will read the g words. Can you also read the k words? We'll do the first one together as an example. Plug. So you should have said plug, pluck. If you said it the other way round, pluck, plug, also fine. Let's do the next 4. Rag. Sag. Snag. Wig. And now listen to both forms, repeat and see how you did. Plug, pluck. Rag, rack. Sag, sack. Snag, snack. Wig, wick. Well done, and let's try a couple of sentences with some of those words. Again, I'll read the first time more slowly, the second and third times at a more natural pace, pausing for you to repeat. The dog and the duck dug in the dock. The dog and the duck dug in the dock. The dog and the duck dug in the dock. Well done. That one's really hard with switching between the th and the d sounds as well. Sentence 2. This rack is for rags, saggy sacks, and mucky mugs. This rack is for rags, saggy sacks, and mucky mugs. This rack is for rags, saggy sacks, and mucky mugs. And finally, a couple of sentences mixing the sounds in both positions. Sentence 1. He grabbed the black bag, but gave it back. He grabbed the black bag, but gave it back. He grabbed the black bag, but gave it back. Well done, and that black bag is really tricky in that one as well. And sentence 2. The good class could snag the good snacks. The good class could snag the good snacks. The good class could snag the good snacks. Well done. That was a tricky one as well. There we go. That is the end of this week's workout. Don't forget to practice as often as possible to build muscle and muscle memory, speeding the podcast up or slowing it down as you need to. If you'd like to follow me on social media, come find me on Instagram or Facebook at English Brick by Brick. You'll also find me on Patreon at www.patreon.com/English Brick by Brick. We'll be back next week with just one sound. We're looking at the ng sound, like in sing a song. Enjoy sound building, and I'll see you then.